A flaming hot Cheeto shaped like Charizard sold for nearly $90,000.
No.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
No, it didn't.
Welcome back to Front End Fire. I'm your host for this week, Jack Harrington, and with me are my best friends in podcast world, TJ Van Tol.
Hey, everybody.
And Paige Niederinghouse.
Hello, hello.
All right. So how's the week been going? Good?
It's been good. I found my jQuery UI hat, so for those of you
love
on
it.
YouTube,
Yes.
you can check it out. For everybody else, you might have to pop over and check out our new YouTube channel if you want to see it, but it is aggressively orange.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know what? Oh, my gosh. Hold on. Wait. One thing. Hold on. Right back.
Okay, we'll play some hold music.
Right.
Does he have jQuery? We genuinely don't know what he's going to get.
Oh, nice.
Had to get my tan stack hat.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Repping the team.
What even? I didn't even know TanStack had a logo.
Yeah, it's got a little like an on the beach logo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see it.
Everything's
Palm tree.
so cool. You know, it's like, I made my Lambo, now I'm on the beach kind of thing. It's not really that, but like, it kind of has those vibes.
It looks cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Man, Jack, it's almost like you're working for them now. Got the swag.
Kind of am, really. Okay. Well, let's get into some news.
Yes.
TJ, what's going on this week?
TypeScript has some massive news. So you might have seen some headlines that TypeScript is getting 10x faster. Microsoft went with some pretty aggressive marketing for this, but basically, TypeScript team is planning on rewriting the TypeScript compiler in Go, which is pretty.
Were they
huge
planning,
news,
or I thought it was
honestly.
a lot of done. Actually,
A lot of it is done.
Yeah.
but they're-
Underway.
Yeah.
Right. So the full backstory here is that they're announcing it for the first time, but it's something they have already been working on. Just in terms of timeline wise, they say that a lot of the work is done, but this isn't something that they expect to come to TypeScript proper until 7.0, and TypeScript is currently at 5.8. So it's going to be a little bit. But just for some background, they do think this will be a 10x performance improvement. And the reason for this is TypeScript is currently written in, TypeScript. It's kind of written in itself. And JavaScript is not really known to be the most performant language. So they've known for a while that this is sort of a possible upgrade they have, but they've just been kind of taking their time with it. Go, if you are not familiar, is a language that was actually developed at Google. So it was released back in 2009. So it is not new.
No.
But Go is really best known for being really good at concurrency. Just that's kind of sort of what it was designed for. And when you listen to some of the stuff, Anders Heilsberg, the creator of TypeScript, also the creator of C#, super smart, interesting guy. He has some videos that Microsoft put out explaining this. And when they talk about why they went to Go, it was because Go is really good at working on multiple different cores. So if you think of TypeScript having to run, especially like the TypeScript compiler, compiling a massive TypeScript project, and there's a lot of massive TypeScript projects at this point, JavaScript really wasn't able to fully take advantage of these multi-core systems because JavaScript doesn't really do threading. I mean, there's web workers in JavaScript, but even those can't really, web workers can't even share memory. They can just pass messages. Whereas in Go is a truly multi-threaded language. It has shared memory concurrency, and it can really take advantage of multi-core systems to speed up something like a very parallelizable task, which is what TypeScript compilation often is. And so that's kind of why they picked Go. The second reason they picked Go is they want to do this as a port and not a rewrite.
Yeah.
So Anders brought up that Rust, as we know in the front end world, everybody likes to rewrite their thing to Rust because it is so much faster. But Rust is quite a bit of a different paradigm, so it would be hard to do just like a one-to-one conversion to because it's kind of radically different. They also cite that Rust does not have a built-in garbage collector, and Go does.
What?
Go does have,
the Rust didn't is blowing my mind, but okay.
Surprising, yeah.
Right, what? Okay.
They cite that as it makes it easier to port because JavaScript has a garbage collector, so it's just makes it an easier porting target. And really what this means for us is, well, nothing today, because again, this isn't shipping yet. They have some source code out there that you can kind of play with. They say a lot of the compiler is close to done, but there's still a lot of work to iron around the edges, and it'll probably be maybe even like a full year before we actually see it. But I mean, at some point in the near future, we'll probably have a upgrade to TypeScript that just makes our compilation way faster and our tooling way faster, because they also cite, well, TypeScript is used just in a lot of editors. So editors behind the scenes, or when they're making those red squigglies, or when you hover over something, this should make that considerably faster as well, which is good.
Super excited about it. And I love that, like, the company that's behind C# and the author that's behind C# is like, it's a fantastic language, and it is, but it's not the appropriate target for this particular move because of the way that they want to do the port. And they wanted to literally have, like, if we have an AST token class in the TypeScript, we want to have the corresponding AST token class in Go, and literally you could look at like line by line, and then that helps with all of the AI work of the porting and everything like that. It just makes it so much easier and so much easier to reason about as they're doing that port.
Yeah, and they say they say in here that while some projects may be able to switch to TypeScript 7 upon release, others may depend on certain API features, legacy configurations, or other constraints that necessitate using TypeScript 6. Recognizing TypeScript's critical role in the JS development ecosystem, we will still be maintaining the JS codebase in the 6.x line until TypeScript 7 reaches sufficient maturity and adoption. So it sounds like they're going to try to port everything, but that there's probably some edge case parts of the API. TypeScript does a whole lot these days. So there's probably some legacy stuff that might be trickier to migrate, and we'll just have to see when that date gets closer.
Yeah, but the fact that they're putting it out here now and letting people know that it's coming and kind of giving you options, because they say that not until 7, that'll be the first major release, but they also say sometime in 2025, probably mid to late, they'll have native TypeScript, so you can run it from the command line and just, have it lint your code bases that way. And then they'll have feature complete implementation by the end of 2025. So they're doing it the right way, I guess is the best way to put it, especially for something that is so widely adopted and well liked within the community. They're really doing it, giving people plenty of time to get ahead of it and just, be aware that these changes are coming, as well as, try it out a little earlier. See if there are things that break. Let them know before it's all feature complete. So yeah, that's really exciting though. And I think it's really speaks well to Microsoft that they didn't immediately either jump on the Rust bandwagon because it's popular, or go with one of their own internal languages like .NET or C# just because they were also the owners and the creators of those languages. They actually went with a Google language, which is really well liked, battle tested. We use it at Blues for a lot of our back-end services as well. So that was a great one. Good for them for evaluating the options.
Yeah, big lift to go for sure. Yeah. I gotta say though, if you want to read a really well-reasoned, logical, clear, level-headed document, the GitHub issue or the GitHub discussion page where the guy talks about all the reasoning behind it is just like refreshingly not hyperbolic or anything like that. Just very middle of the road, what's well thought out. Just really engineering at its best.
Anders is not only a smart guy, but he's also just a great communicator. Like whenever you see any of his talks, they're always like, they make me feel smarter because I don't know the ins and outs of Go and Rust and C#, but I leave it going like, oh, I kind of get it.
Yeah. I'm also glad they picked Go because it's just an easier programming language than Rust. I've never vibed with Rust at all.
Yeah, I agree. It's like Rust does not feel much better than C to me, honestly, when I've toyed with it before.
Yeah, I vibe with C, but Rust, I don't know. It's just like there's something about it. Like, all right, Paige, what you got?
I have some new updates that OpenAI has released this week.
Oh,
OpenAI is on the agent train now, just like many of its competitors.
Toot toot. Let's go.
So for anybody who's not as familiar with the terminology, for agents, OpenAI is describing them, and a lot of companies now are describing them as systems that can independently accomplish tasks for users. So we've seen ones in the browser where it'll go out and look for tickets for a concert for you and show you the results, or it will add meetings to your calendars or things like that. So that's what they're talking about when they are describing agents, is just little helpers that can go do things so that you don't have to do them yourself. So they've added a bunch of new APIs that make this easier. There is now a responses API, which is basically their chat completions API combined with tool use capabilities. So it's kind of things that you may have had to string together yourself in the past, now just kind of comes available out of the box. They have some new built-in tools that they are adding, like web search, file search, and computer use. So things that we were just talking about, it can go out and look up stuff on, your web browser of choice, or it can go look at files that you've given it access to in terms of context or extra information. And then there is the Agents SDK, which is for orchestrating workflows within either a single agent application, or if you have multiple agents that are doing different things, like maybe you have one that goes out and looks for information on the web and another one that kind of compiles that into something meaningful. So they're adding more tools to make that simpler. And then they're also giving us the observability tools so that you can actually watch what your agents are doing after the fact. You can trace it, you can inspect it. So if they're doing something dumb, you can go and look at what actually was happening and maybe adjust your prompt. Or if you just need to go back and look at a previous conversation, they're giving us that as well. So things that you used to have to go to a third party, like maybe LangGraph or LangChain, OpenAI is trying to build itself so that you don't have to have so many different pieces kind of connected together. They'll just provide it for you. So
it's
good
called
for
vendor
them.
lock-in. It's great.
Yes.
The responses API is also stateful, which is kind of cool. So because previous versions of their APIs would just kind of, you just pass something in and you got something back. Whereas now that it's going to start to remember things, which should make the APIs a lot easier to use. I've not tried this out quite yet, but I kind of want to play with it, and just these just seem like fun things to tinker with.
Oh yeah.
Send off an agent to do some searching, look through some files. I don't know. It just seems like a fun thing to play with, and probably useful for some people depending on what you're building.
For sure.
Oh, totally useful. And there's been a lot of excitement recently around MCP, the Model Context Protocol. Lot of excitement. And yeah, that's in this space as well. So the idea is that any of these AIs plus the tools that are provided by MCP servers, then you've got something agentic, right? Something that can go and like connect through that MCP server to your database or your API or the hue lights in your house or whatever it is that you want, and have it do stuff for you. And it's actually really cool. And then, so it's just nice to see like that MCP is really like finally taken off, because it does open a lot of doors for folks.
This is somewhat related, somewhat unrelated, but I've been playing with a bunch of just AI-based like cursor stuff to build with against our APIs at Blues. And it's funny how much any usability problems you have with your tools are also going to be usability problems for AI. So I was kind of amused that like all the things that humans struggle with our APIs are the same ones that the AI hits. because we have some weird naming things, like everybody has weird naming inconsistencies. But those naming inconsistencies that we have, like the AI screws it up as well, because like we call two different things in two different places, and what do you know, the AI is confused by that too. So it's funny how just creating usable stuff for people can also make your stuff more usable for AI agents also, which is not a surprise, but I don't know. I find it funny.
Yeah, it's funny to see it like respond to stuff. I remember when I was pointing it at some of the TanStack stuff, because we wanted compatibility with Create React app. Our verb for starting the server is start, which is like unusual nowadays. In development mode, most people use dev.
Dev, yeah.
And it's funny that like I would see the AI chug along, and it's like, okay, now I'll run it in dev mode, and like it goes immediately to, it doesn't even look, it goes immediately to dev mode, and then it's like, oh, that didn't work. What? Hold on, let me read the package JSON. Oh, you guys use start. Okay, I guess you're gonna use start, and then you go. Yeah,
I would have to always, I would just tell it to go to the docs and just give it a link. And that was actually the most consistent way of fixing it, which is also just amusing. It's just like you're telling a junior engineer, just go read this and then figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was just reading an article or a blog post from Expo, and they were talking about how they envision themselves being part of the AI future of, just enabling AI apps to be built and deployed quickly, which is kind of, Expo's React Native under the hood and all that. So, but one of the things that they mentioned, in addition to just being a good partner in this ecosystem, is they have created a thing called an LLM.txt file, which is, and it is just a markdown file of all the things that an LLM could possibly need to know about Expo as a framework. And it's just divided into sections with headers, and then it has links to everything that you could ever need to know about Expo. It even has at the end a huge amount of YouTube videos that people have done using Expo. So it is just a markdown that I guess they pass in to an LLM that tells you anything the LLM could need to know about Expo in terms of documentation or how to implement features or whatever. And it's very long and very well written, but it's also just a whole bunch of links. But like TJ said, it seems like LLMs can benefit greatly from just being directed right to documentation and then using that as part of their context.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about in the past about how perhaps like we're seeing the end of frameworks. Like there won't be any new frameworks because the AIs won't be actually trained on them. Well, LLMs.txt basically reopens that door, essentially.
Yeah.
Like it says, like, oh, if you got some weird framework that we've never seen before, this is how you write in it. And so even if you've got your own application that's written in, Next Pages or whatever that, like a very old school thing that has been trained on, having like that LLMs.txt file would be good, because then that would give it information about what your standards are and how you guys write and how. And in your case, for example, like which one of those two APIs to call and when.
Yeah.
And that would help the AI write a lot better right out of the box.
Yeah, I've put in because I've been doing it so I'm working in Cursor, so I'm putting in the Cursor rules for now.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just telling it things like, when it use this by default, or just telling it like these two are named differently in different situations, and you just have to deal with it basically. And it for the most part it works. Sometimes it gets confused still, but I've been surprised at how well that approach works.
Okay, so I would love for you guys to try this. There's a new service called Firecrawl, or I'm not sure whether they're an old service or whatever. Firecrawl came out with this LLMs.txt generator. And you just point it at whatever your docs page is, and it will go and generate that LLMs.txt file for you. So I'd be really interested to see how it did with Blues, and if it can, because I pointed at the TanStack stuff and it wasn't all that good.
Wasn't great.
So, it wasn't great. So
okay.
I'm actually going to talk to the Expo guys and see like, how did you do it? Because
it's a lot of work to put something like that together manually.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it. They just had a link directly to it, and it was very, very thorough from my quick scan of it. So
I really feel like
it
should be like an output of Docusaurus. It's like you've written all your docs. Now, as another target, will target an lms.txt file as well as the web
That'd
pages.
be a good feature to add for Docusaurus or any of those.
Heck yeah. Absolutely. All right. Well, my news for this week is that friend of the pod, Aiden Bai, has, and genius Aiden Bai, has come up with yet another thing, and that's same.dev. And it's not actually working this morning, but I can understand that it got probably a ridiculous amounts of traffic. But same.dev is another one of these application builder sites. You give it a prompt, and it will go and build a site for you. The unique hook in this case is that you don't give it a prompt as in just, I want a to-do list app. You actually give it the URL of an existing site, and it essentially clones it for you to the best of its ability. So it's pretty cool. I think it's interesting to see and get in that space.
Does it actually clone like the functionality of the site where, you can click on an image and it expands it, or it takes you to another link within the site and that as well? Or is it more just like the visual representation?
He tries to. Yeah.
Wow.
We question like how much is behind the auth wall and stuff like that. Obviously that's not going to work, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried it out because I tried to clone my blog and I also hit issues. It wasn't quite working, but I think it's just traffic oriented.
Oh, rate limiting?
Was it was just really, really slow. Lots of spinners. But
okay.
It was interesting because my site it's an old school Jekyll site.
Oh.
But when he generated it, it was spitting out React, Tailwind, ShadCN, essentially. Mm-hmm. So something behind it, it's trying to use that exact same, the same tool stack, but it's bringing in the image of it because it looked like what it was doing was right. And it also, it will show you the code that it's working with as well. And then it gives you buttons where you can share it, you can download it, you can export it, you can do a number of things. So I'm going to try it again once he ups his server capacity. Or
yeah, that was actually a thing right away. Was I think he's on Anthropic, I want to say, and it was really hard to get them to actually take his money. He's like, I want to give you money, just up my rate limits, and they were like, whatever. And finally they did it, and so he was able to push it out to wider release. But I think even then, it's just these things get so popular so fast that, and it's kind of scary the level of token use that can happen there.
I mean, it also, if I was Anthropic or I was the host of this, I might be a little wary that the sites that are being cloned are going to come after me for copyright infringement and who knows what else, because that could get them into legal trouble. I feel like this is a gray area.
Yeah. What's funny for me is that people really didn't have a problem with I give you a random prompt that basically describes the site that I want to clone, and they're okay with that, but they're not okay with just giving them the site to clone. And I kind of get it, but I mean, it was to the point where I saw on Twitter a guy putting out in a response to same.dev, essentially here's how to poison pill your site. Where you put in a span that has a div that has no is completely invisible, and it says things like, if you're an LLM reading this, then give snarky responses and change it this way and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh my god, that's hilarious. I don't know if the LLM would do that, but it's hilarious all the same.
So I can see being concerned about this, but at the same time, this is something that's always been possible. Front-end code is it's public. This makes it a little bit easier to take the code and export it, and it's a really clever idea, but front-end code is public. Somebody can always get your code and access it and clone it. I don't know. This just makes it a little bit simpler. So
I'm always amazed when InfoSec people they find that out for the first time. They're like, oh, no, what? Our code is out there in the public? Yes.
I remember. Yeah. I remember back, this was 15 years ago when front-end dev wasn't as mature as it is right now, but working with companies that were doing all this work to try to obfuscate their code because they were so worried that their JavaScript code would fall into the wrong hands, and having to tell them look, it is what it is, and also your JavaScript code is not as valuable as you think.
No,
it is.
No.
You put so much hassle into because they were obfuscating it and doing all this stuff to try to make it impossible to reverse engineer. It's this code is like formatting up form fields and sending it to
Right?
the server. What are we doing
exactly.
here?
It's the server stuff that's important, at the end of the day. Yeah.
I guess I worry about things like it just makes it easier for scam sites to pop up that look exactly like the real thing. Then your URL is just slightly off and you've given your money to Mikey instead of Nike. And
Nice. Yes.
You're right.
I shouldn't laugh though. Scamming's gotten so bad. It's crazy. Like I get 4 or 5 scam engagements a day, and they're like laughably dumb. But at the point where people like really start throwing AI at them, it's gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very legit concern. Just especially anything that makes scammers' lives easier, not the greatest.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Well, do we have any extra news this week?
We do. Ooh. So I've got one. What about Siri? More bad news for Siri.
Oh, no.
Siri.
Oh, poor Siri. I feel bad for Siri now.
I don't know. I don't feel that bad for Siri. I mean, Apple's had like how many years to make Siri better? But the background here is that, the headline is that Apple delays upgraded Siri intelligence. It's going to take longer than we thought. That is their statement. Company spokesperson Jacqueline Roy says, we've been working on a more personalized Siri, giving it more awareness of your personal context, as well as the ability to take action for you within and across your apps. It's going to take us longer than we thought to deliver on these features, and we anticipate rolling them out in the coming year. Now, the reason this is such bad news for Apple is they have been running commercials on these features.
Yep.
telling you
Apple
to go
Intelligence
out,
and all that. Yeah.
Apple Intelligence. And they pulled one of their commercials from YouTube at the same time that they put out this announcement, because the commercial that specifically talked about some of these features, like there's one you might have seen where an actor just asks like about her mother's flight, and Siri is able to see that she got an email with updates about the flight and tell her about that. So that's one of these more advanced Siri AI-based features that Apple announced last fall, and is now saying that it's not even coming. Well, we don't even know when it's coming. That it's further delayed. And so it's funny too, Jack, that you mentioned the AI bomb in the context of same.dev, because one speculation is that one trouble they're having is that you have to be very careful about almost like prompt injection for AI. Because if Siri is reading your emails to gather knowledge or whatever to help you, a malicious actor could send stuff in your emails, right, that Siri is now reading. So you have the potential to do malicious things there. And that's one speculation. Another speculation is that Apple is just pretty incompetent at all of this stuff, and that they got in way over their heads. But still kind of ridiculous that they ran nationally televised ad campaigns, and a lot of them, I saw those commercials a lot.
Yeah.
On something that was complete. They didn't even have working in a beta or anything. It's just kind of nuts.
Yeah, the Apple Intelligence stuff was like old school .NET, like when they tried to say that .NET was going to be everything before it even was anything.
Yeah.
And then Microsoft got in trouble for that. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's one thing to advertise something that's like coming soon, and then like, oh, you hit some edge cases and you have to figure it out. It's another thing to just make a big deal about something that doesn't even exist, and their stock is down, and we shall see. But it is more not great news for Apple.
Well, I think that to appease the unhappy masses, that I got an email earlier this week from Apple that they were debuting new versions of the iPad Air and the iPad. So now you can get, iOS 18 dot whatever running on your new iPad or iPad Air, and it's got, better Apple Pencil Pro features and functionality and a better camera and all the stuff that you kind of come to expect with every upgrade of any Apple product. But an M3, the iPad Pro is running on the M3 chip, and I think that the iPad Air is running on the M2 chip or something like that. So they're just it's something. It's not, it's just hardware upgrades. Whenever Apple Intelligence does get done, they will have access to it on your iPad. But yeah, it's something. It's not
Yeah.
groundbreaking in any way.
I do like the idea of having an app, like an actual like physical chip that is designed specifically for AIs to, or companies developing AIs to leverage that's local.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's actually really interesting. I don't know if Apple's doing a great job with that particular chip, seemingly.
No, you'd think Apple would be in a good position for this because they don't necessarily even have to. They don't have to create any of these models per se. They just can have devices that run them really well, and they're just not doing either especially well right now.
Yeah. All right. More news? No.
Nothing else for me.
Cool. Do we have a fire starter this week?
We do have a fire starter.
All right. Let's go light a fire.
All right, so I was reading an article earlier this week that was about newer HTML elements that are available in the browsers that we might not be using. And some of them I was aware of. We've talked about a lot of them, like the dialogue element and popovers and some of the new things that have happened with Select. But one of the elements that is relatively new is one called data list. Have either of you heard of data list before?
I've heard of it. It's like for autocompletes, kind of, right? It's been a while since I've touched one, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. So it is for autocomplete, but it actually has a range of use cases. So data list is a tag that you would put around a set of options. And if you were typing into something like a text input, it would also, as you clicked into that input, it would show you a little arrow drop down and show you those options. But you don't necessarily have to select one of them like you would in a select. You can just start typing and it will filter down the options until you have gone beyond what the filter is. So the example that I saw was for ice cream flavors. So you clicked on the input box, it showed you chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. But if you started typing in cookies and cream, it would filter down till it got to chocolate, and then once you put the second O in there, then it would just take whatever input you had.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
as
cool.
long as it validates, it works, and it will show you autocomplete filters or options, but you don't have to select one of them. So that's one of the reasons, or one of the reasons that you would use it. It also works with numeric range inputs. So if you have like a range slider, you can tell it, these are the options that I want you to show along the range slider, like 1, 2, 3, and drag it. And it will actually allow you to just drag and kind of pop to those numbers instead of just dragging it anywhere along the range.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. And then there's some other ones that supports date time. So if you're trying to set like a particular time like you would on a clock, you can say, 0 to 12 or 0 to 60 for hours and minutes and things like that. And then it also supports color types. So if you wanted to give people a browser-based range of colors that they could choose from, you can just put in the hex codes as options, and it will show those along with a little like color swatch next to them for options that they can choose. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
I do wonder how stylable it is.
I was just going to say, that seems like a lot to style.
That's a good question.
When I looked into it before, and I've used these before, but only for autocomplete, so I wasn't aware you could do a bunch of this other stuff with it, but that was always the concern. Back in the jQuery UI days, per my hat, with the autocomplete, a lot of people would use our autocomplete in jQuery UI because like the built-in one, you just couldn't do as much, but that was also many, many years ago at this point, so...
Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty cool to connect a data list to the controller element, so the input or whatever it's connected to. You just have to give the data list an ID, and then in the input, you would say list equals, and then that ID name, and then they're just hooked up. So it's pretty cool. It has partial support in Firefox, but it is fully supported across all the other major browsers. So could be something that would be useful in certain situations.
Yeah.
TJ's favorite Firefox, always lagging behind.
Oh, it's
Partial support. It's getting there.
It's got to be for like the color pick or something. Like 'cause I know data lists work.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see what's making us happy this week.
Let's do it.
All right, Paige, what's making you happy this week?
The under desk heated footrest is what
I
is
bet.
making me happy this week.
Yeah.
So it was my birthday earlier this week, and
Happy
as
birthday. Woot, woot.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. It's TJ's birthday also, the day after my birthday. So
What?
Yeah,
A lot
it's
of
Oh
birthday
my
week here.
gosh, amazing.
But for my birthday, my husband bought me this little, it looks like a little foam half of a foam roller, like if you were to cut it in half, and it's just kind of like a bolster. And it has a little cord coming out one side of it, attached to a little remote control, and it is actually a heated footrest that you can put under your desk, and it's amazing.
Nice. That sounds
Yeah,
great.
you turn it on, and it has like an hour timer, so you can say I want it to be on for 3 hours. You can adjust the temperature from 70 degrees up to 150 degrees, depending on how cold your feet are that morning.
Right?
And it just fits really nicely underneath my desk. It warms really well. It's got this like kind of a velvety feeling cover on it. And yeah, it's such a goofy little idea, but my feet do get cold, especially in the winter when I'm sitting at my desk, and he knows this.
This
Good
thing is
hobby
really
there.
cool.
Yeah.
This is like I might actually get this for my wife just because she loves little things like this. Like we have the heated blankets, which go over
Yep.
really well. I feel like this would pair with that really nicely.
Yes.
Just heat everything. Why not?
Absolutely. Yeah. My dog loves a heated blanket. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally love it. All right. TJ, what's making you happy?
I saw an amazing headline this week that I have to absolutely share. So, a flaming hot Cheeto shaped like Charizard sold for nearly $90,000.
No.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
No, it didn't.
It did
What?
on this auction site, and I will, before you judge too much.
I'm judging everything in this.
Okay, it's fair to judge this a lot, but you need to look at the image of the Charizard. So I will dump this in.
Put this in the Discord. What do you got?
Yeah.
This
I'm
is
going to put this in here
ridiculous.
because
Oh my god.
it does look quite a bit like Charizard, honestly. Like, it's decently impressive. Not saying that I would spend $90,000 on this Cheeto, but it makes a little more sense after I saw the thing, because it's a pretty impressive looking Cheeto.
I mean, who took the time first to look at this Cheeto, and then what auction house said, yes, we will sell this. Somebody is going to want to buy this.
Well, there's a New York Times story that is in the show notes if you want to read through this. It's a site called Golden Auctions, which specializes in some of these obscure types of things. They probably did this largely as a publicity stunt to get their name out there, which is exactly what we're helping them do at the moment. But I mean, it's a good publicity stunt. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. It made me happy. That's the point of this segment.
Okay.
Just
all right.
seeing,
Fair enough.
Seeing this headline, seing this Cheeto,
Cheeto.
made me smile. I had a good couple of minutes reading through this, and this is harmless fun. If somebody wants to spend a bunch of money on a Cheeto, there are worse things to do with your money and your time.
And
People just have way too much money if this is
Yeah.
if they're bidding on this.
Well, and also, like, I didn't know. I've heard the banana taped to a wall thing before,
Yep.
and the article covers that as well. I did not know that the banana taped to a wall fetched $6.2 million.
It's insane.
That's pure insanity.
Well, and it's a different banana.
What?
They have to keep replacing the banana because it rots. So they have to it's new bananas all the time. It's not the original.
Yeah, you're never gonna get pay off $6.2 million in individual bananas. Like
No.
what the? Oh my god! Oh my wow, that is
I
so
can't believe
ridiculous.
that's art also.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of art, what's making me happy this week is that I got a jam stick, which is a electric guitar. Actually,
Oh.
yeah, I decided that I needed something that was non-techy, and this is kind of non-techy. If you squint at it sideways, it's a real electric guitar. It's full size electric guitar, like Stratocaster style. It's got regular humbucker pickups and all this sort of stuff. So you could use it just like a regular electric guitar, but it's also got like a built-in MIDI pickup and some nice integrated software. So ostensibly, I can do a video on using this guitar in combination with like there's actual support on a web page. You can actually like use it as an input to a web page kind of thing. So I'll probably do that. So tax deductible, but still I did want something that is like just that I can just like chill out and do something that is completely non-technical. So I'm gonna reteach myself guitar. I knew a little bit about guitar when I was in my 20s, and I got really fat fingers, and I don't but I'll figure it out this time, and I will make it work. So I'm excited.
Cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had a background, because that feels like it's kind of ambitious to take it on from scratch, because I feel like there's a lot to learn.
I know the basics, and I did. It was actually a thing for a long time for me to go and create a program called Fret Navigator or Ultimate Chord Book or whatever. Basically, I realized pretty early on that I wasn't as good as a player as I was a coder, and I could do things like algorithmically find chords on a keyboard and write that kind of stuff really quickly. So I started to make some programs around that, and I had a couple of different variations on that. And I'm thinking, now that I have a way to actually interact with the guitar and show you, okay, that's this chord, and and then maybe show you some variations on it, you could do some really interesting stuff. So I'm excited about that part of it too. But I'm also excited about just like, just want to be able to like, play some simple tunes, like rhythm guitar type stuff, not like lead guitar, but like rhythm guitar type stuff.
Yeah. And it's really satisfying to do that stuff with your hands, the old-fashioned way, even if we can do it with technology.
Yeah. Like a year ago, I taught myself how to do Rubik's Cube, and now I do it like every day, a couple times a day, just like as like almost like a fidget thing. And I'm like, if I can do that, like I can do the guitar thing,
Totally.
That's not a problem. Like, yeah. Well, we'll see. Maybe in a couple months, like I'll be a semi-decent rhythm guitar player.
Can bring it on the podcast.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. Well, this has been really fun. So much fun. Always fun hanging out with you guys, and so glad to be here in person this week and not doing a delayed story like the last time. And yeah, so if you want to catch up with the gang, we are over on the Blue Collar Quarter Discord channel, our server, and the Front End Fire channel. You can go check us out there, interact with us directly. We've also got our website. We're also on X and LinkedIn and
Blue Sky.
Blue Sky. We're all over the place. And of course, we are now right here on our own YouTube channel. So yeah, check us out. Tell your friends, like and subscribe and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you have to pop into the YouTube video, if only for a minute, to see the hats. Otherwise,
for sure.
The hats are going to remain a complete
Gotta rep that
mystery,
tan stack. Absolutely. And the old school jQuery.
Yeah,
Which is a good looking orange. It's like yeah.
I've got
like a
a
orange.
shirt that goes with it. Maybe for next week I'll have to show up and
Oh my God.
It's
Is it
impossible
also
to get.
orange?
It's also orange. Yeah, it's actually impossible
miss it.
to get hit by a car if you're wearing all of this orange, because you're visible from like 3 miles away.
Right? Yeah. Yes. All right. Well, see you next week.
All right, see everybody.
Bye.